On Monday morning, jury in immigration courtrooms across this country, children who cross the border alone will be called before a judge, and the chair beside them will be empty. Not because no lawyer would take their case, because the contract that paid their lawyers expired on Friday night, and the fight that killed it was not about money. It was about the government demanding to see what is inside those children's confidential files. The facts as reported. The federal contract funding legal representation for unaccompanied children was held by the Acacia Center for Justice and distributed through a network of roughly 100 legal service providers under the Office of Refugee Resettlement. It expired Friday, July 31st. Acacia's account, as NPR and ABC report it, is this. Since December of last year, the government has withheld payment for work already completed to pressure providers into handing over confidential information about the children they represent. Client data, billing records tied to individual asylum applications, material covered by attorney-client privilege. The agency offered a new contract on the condition that the data flows. Acacia declined, and the funding lapsed. How many children does this leave alone? Here, I owe you the same honesty the reporting owes me. The two counts do not match. NPR reports 26,000 unaccompanied children affected. ABC News reports over 20,000 receiving representation through the program. Neither outlet reconciles the gap, and it may simply be two different slices of the caseload. I am not going to pick the bigger number because it sounds worse, jury. I am going to tell you the honest version. Either count means thousands of children, in courtrooms, alone, starting Monday. Now the number that turns a funding story into an outcome story. Sendukas is an attorney at the Galveston-Houston Immigrant Representation Project, one of the providers in this network, and here is her sentence in full. We know that without a lawyer, unaccompanied children win the right to stay in the United States less than 1% of the time. Less than 1%, jury. These are children in a legal system conducted in a language most of them do not speak, under a body of law that confuses trained adults. Removing the lawyer does not speed up the case, it decides it. Follow the money because it is documented. The withheld payments total roughly $65 million across all providers, per ABC News. Kids in Need of Defense says it alone is owed more than $25 million. Probar, one provider in the network, has laid off more than 20% of its staff. The nonprofits have sued for the owed payments and for continued funding, and a federal court hearing is set for August 6th on whether the government must resume paying for the work it already received. Mark that date, jury. The children go to court alone on the 4th. The lawyers get their hearing on the 6th. Cross-examination, because the government side deserves its strongest form. A government that funds a program is entitled to oversee it, and oversight requires records. That is true, and no one disputes it. But watch what was actually demanded. Oversight audits invoices. It counts cases, hours, outcomes. What was demanded here, by the provider's account, is the confidential contents of children's case files, material any first-year law student knows is privileged, and the lever was withholding payment for work the government had already received. When the price of getting paid for finished work is your client's file, that is not oversight, jury. That is the thing privilege exists to prevent. A few nights ago on this desk, I showed you a deportation justified by the words criminal record, where the file behind the words held a $200 traffic ticket. Tonight, the words are program oversight, and the file behind them is a demand for privileged case data, $65 million in unpaid invoices, and thousands of children whose odds in court drop below 1% the moment the chair beside them empties. The verdict register is the same both nights. Check what the word is being used to do. Monday morning, a child will stand in front of a judge in a language she does not speak, in a country she asked to protect her, alone. That is the record. This court is adjourned. I'm Madeline, and this is Pixel Politics.